And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com. I'm Chad Brendel. He's Aaron Smith. And as always, visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. And make sure you get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off your order. Open Wednesday through Sunday for lunch every day, except Monday and Tuesday. I don't know why I said every day there. Kelly walked into my office. It distracted me. Hi.
Hi.
We're live.
Hi.
There's Kelly. All right, let's get going, Aaron. It was a busy day on campus. Luke Fickell press conference. Wes Miller press conference.
Been a while since you got both, right?
Both in the same day. I mean, we've gotten them like a Luke on a Tuesday, Wes on a Wednesday, but crammed everything in.
Makes it nice for you, right? You don't have to go to campus multiple days in a row.
Yeah, the hard part is like then football practice and basketball practice kind of butted up to one another, so
it makes for a long day. But
together.
But again, you only have to go once. I would
think
that's.
I mean, I'll probably be back again this week because I'm sick in the head. But is what it is. It was good afternoon on campus. You had a chance to watch the press conferences.
I did.
We'll get to that in a second. I did want to address the basketball scrimmage conversation that's been going on. It did sound like Ohio University edged out the Bearcats in a fairly close scrimmage in Athens after the Bearcats had their kind of Wes likes to do like a little weekend getaway. They went to Columbus Friday and Saturday.
There was a great video.
They were bowling. Yeah,
great video on Bearcat's YouTube page.
So this was a scrimmage of the two scrimmages, Cincinnati looked at. Wes likes to schedule the first one early, and he talked about this in his press conference.
Mm-hmm.
So when you schedule the first one early, it gives you a chance to get a lot of stuff on tape, look at a lot of different guys, a lot of different combinations, and then treat the second one much more like a game atmosphere, where you're cutting down your rotations, you're playing your main guys more, you're gearing up for the start of the season. Ohio University did not see it that way. They treated this scrimmage as a real scrimmage. And they, from what I've heard from talking to people today, they played 7 guys pretty much the entirety of the game. Cincinnati was rotating in the entire, all of their scholarship guys, trying to get a look, at as many different things as possible. It was also, there were supposed to be 3 20-minute segments. Ohio University was winning after the second 20-minute segment and decided, we're tired. We've had enough. We're going to call it a day since we don't want to give you a chance to play the scheduled third segment and see what could happen there. So I know people panic.
Of course, you're gonna run things differently if you're playing 2 than if you're playing 3 because.
Well, yeah, you didn't think the game was about to end. You thought we're going to play 20 more minutes. And you're not in Cincinnati's mindset for this scrimmage. The score wasn't really relevant. Like it's more about getting stuff on tape, being able to talk to Josh Reed and Dan Skillings about, hey, maybe this is where defensively you need to learn to be better. This is where you need to lock in. This is a rotation that you miss. This is, you're trying to get as much of that on tape as possible, good and bad. Because sometimes the bad stuff is more helpful than the good stuff in those type of settings. So you can, if you want to panic about the fact that OU won the scrimmage, more power to you. Go right ahead. I was just giving some context on the situation. I had somebody ask on the board who played well. It doesn't sound it's hard to get in a rhythm when you're shuttling in 12, 13 different guys. So it sounded like, they played pretty well. They weren't connecting on the jump shots, especially towards the end. I don't know that anybody from what I heard, I don't know there was anybody I would be like, this guy played great, or this guy,
It's just funny to see people panicking already before there's even been a game played, and B, when you look at this roster on paper, it's better than last year.
It's just you're getting there's 5-6 guys that are going to be playing, on this roster that are still new and learning just as much as last year when the entire everybody was learning. So I'm much more interested in Purdue next weekend than I am any of the details from this weekend. And make no mistake, like, Purdue's really good. So you could go in there and play well and still not get a good outcome. But that Purdue game is going to get you much more ready for the Maui Invitational than playing everybody and rotating through and just trying to get a bunch of stuff on tape at OU. I did think it was funny. Like, UC didn't do any scouting for Ohio. They didn't, know any of their stuff. They didn't game plan. It was just, we're going to do what we're working on and see how it looks. And the Ohio coaches were calling out UC's plays and obviously had scouted them fully. Like, they wanted to win the game. And then once they had the upper hand after 2 segments, we're like, all right, thanks for coming up, guys.
Well,
get back on that bus and head back to Cincinnati.
Just
it's their prerogative. Who cares?
Playing devil's advocate. I mean, they allowed their coaching staff to look at it as a game, and they simulated it as such. So
sure, they just had a different
game
approach than UC did.
Yeah,
that's fine. I'm just expressing, like, how and why things happened like they did. Also, if you're worried about the final score of a scrimmage on October 16th, take 18th. A step away. It was played on the 16th, Aaron.
Sure. I'm tired.
I love when you try to correct me and it just doesn't work.
It's fine. It just didn't sound right.
Well, it's because the game was played 2 days ago.
Right.
Press conferences. Anything that jumped out at you? We can start either way.
Let's start with Wes. I think there's more to talk about there, truthfully. Okay. Lots of reference to, I guess, kind of what we've been alluding to as we've talked about the different rotations that you've seen during practices, but we've not heard that I can recollect coming out of Wes's mouth. But positionless basketball and the evolution from not your father's basketball team, where you had a true center, a true power forward, a true small forward, a true shooting guard, a true point guard, but now going to many guys who can play many positions, as we've hit on a lot about this roster in the offseason. And just kind of hearing without an Abdullah Doe and a Hayden Koval what this is going to look like and how they're playing to the strengths. And it's going to be, Wes said, it's going to be Bearcat basketball in a sense that it's going to be gritty and physical and things that UC fans want to see. But it's going to be a different type of team than maybe we've ever seen before.
I don't necessarily. I mean, yes and no. I don't know that I would go that far because it's not like they've never played with, like, undersized guys at the 5. Like, they've played with forwards at the 5 before.
But have they had this much length the rest of the roster at the same time?
Maybe. I mean, a lot of those, like, those late 90s, early 2000s teams were really long and athletic. Probably a little bit smaller at the guard spots, but still, like, even you look at, like, James White and Armin Kirkland on a team. Like, now they might not have had as much, length and depth behind them. But, DeMar and Lenny Stokes and Pete Michael. And there have been some teams that have had plenty of length and athleticism.
I
But
just feel like when they had those, though, they had longer centers as well, as opposed to
yeah. I mean, this is they're Vic is long and tall. Sage is long and tall. I don't know, if Sage is going to redshirt or what the
Right.
final decision on that is going to be. I don't know if a final decision has been made. But I mean, we'll see. But it is definitely like 2 through 4 and 5 to a lesser extent. There's a lot of versatility. It's just a matter of one, like, you might want somebody to play the 2, but can they guard a 2?
well, and that's
What if the other team puts a 6'3" 2-guard out there and you're trying to guard him with a slower 6'6" guy?
and that was brought up with Odie as they talked about, can Odie guard a guard? And that's something that he's been working on in the offseason. So I don't know. I think watching this roster develop over the course of the season is going to be very intriguing, at least to me, and seeing how these guys start and finish, as I think you'll really see some chemistry evolve in ways that maybe we aren't accustomed to seeing here on a regular basis, at least over the course of recent history.
Yeah. That part of it is going to be fascinating to see, like, how ready they are rotationally, like how much they have figured out by the time Maui rolls around, how much more they still need to develop and make progress. But I think this is the future of what you're going to see. Now, I do think ultimately Wes would prefer to have a more traditional center type on the roster, a rim protector, somebody on the back end, somebody maybe 6'10" from the Congo, something along those lines. Not to be too specific or anything, but I do think, that I see positionless basketball in my mind. The 1 and the 5 are their own kind of entities. And then 2 through 4 is where it gets kind of positionless.
Does that mean you're going to see a lot of zone defense out of these guys? No?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
No, I think Wes is a man-to-man guy. He would have to change his philosophy for a lot of zone to be played. I don't see that as necessarily something that's going to happen.
Okay.
And then really cool from David DeJulius. At the end of his press conference, he announced that all of the proceeds that he makes, all the NIL money he makes from his jersey sales, will go to buying books for inner city kids in Cincinnati and Detroit. Dave is a very insightful, intelligent, bright guy. So not surprised by that move, but like that's right up Dave's alley.
Much like Mason Fletcher is donating all of his proceeds as well, for a little different reason, as he's not allowed to actually receive NIL money. But
yeah. Anything else basketball wise?
No, I think I guess Rob Finney being the old head, I thought that was kind of fun.
We need to introduce him and Tyler Scott and see if
I thought that same exact thing actually. And that was the first time I'd heard him talk. Just listening to both he and DeJulius talk, they have a tremendous amount of leadership on this team. We've heard Davenport. We know what he brings to the table. I'd imagine Landers Nolly brings quite a bit. I haven't heard him talk a whole lot outside of one presser. John Newman, again, another guy with a lot of insight to give. This is an older team. Truly, it's not a super young team.
They've got 8 guys that are in their senior or super senior year.
Right.
So that's old.
So I don't know. It should be a lot of guys for these young kids to look up to.
Yeah, for sure. Football, I think the only thing that really surprised me is Luke talked about Ben Bryant being going through concussion protocol. He is usually not that forthcoming. Yeah, with injury stuff. So that was interesting. Ben was dazed and confused at the end of that game. That's why I tried to tell people last week when the conversation was happening, Ben was not going back in that game. It wasn't happening. It just wasn't. But he was out there today. Seems to be okay. Seems to be ready to go for Saturday. I thought he looked really good from the practice stuff I saw today. Tyler Scott was not out there today, still rehabbing the ankle. It sounds like that's going to be close, whether he can go or not. And a couple of people made once they said it, it made a lot of sense. Tyler's a track guy, right?
Yeah. Track
guys, their bodies, especially their legs, are like foreign sports cars, right? Like it's got to be. There's not that football mindset of I'm going to play at like 84%. If it's your wheels, you got to make sure your wheels are your wheels. If
all or nothing, right?
Yeah. So it was funny to hear that, like, that comparison to it. He looked pretty good. Seemed like he was in good spirits, but I think, to make sure that ankle is ready to carry the load, it's going to come all the way up to Saturday. I don't know that there's a great feeling or a bad feeling one way or another as to whether he's going to go or not, but
any update on
working on it.
Any update on any other guys? Will Pauling, Shimon Mateer?
Will was back. Will looked good.
Okay.
Will looked like nothing happened.
Okay. That's good news, though, as you're talking about another speed guy potentially being out.
I mean, I don't think he's a track guy.
I understand, but we're talking.
I know, but I'm talking about the mindset.
Depth. I would just bring up more depth.
Yeah, I think Will should be good to go. He looked good today.
Okay.
He looked like he was moving around really well. Shimon, still not really close, I don't think.
Okay.
I think that's it's one of those, like, it heals how it heals type situations. Like, there's not really a great timetable. It's just a matter of how does his body get back to, 100%.
Cam Jones
is fine.
Okay. Wasn't he out? Has it been a while since he's been out? Did I make all that up?
Yeah, I mean, they thought he was going to be out for a while at the start of camp, and then he was back in 6 days.
Okay, maybe I just hadn't heard an update since then.
No, he's been back for a while.
Okay, it's again just been a long day.
Yeah. Other than that, you should be great on PTP.
Oh, it should be a blast. Can't wait.
Yeah. Other than that, not a whole lot too exciting. Other than Luke giving me a hard time over and over again because I just was talking about Tanner Mordecai in his big run, and then Luke called me a layman and basically said I was a basic bitch. So
when the shoe fits,
it is what it is. I didn't really argue. That's the nightcap. We'll see you tomorrow night. That was brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!